I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
We're talking about gender inequality or racism or queer rights.
We have to beg and plead for everyone we know to vote in 2020.
I'm able to do this without implying a woman's right to choose.
Goes out to all those black and brown boys and girls and non-gender conforming who don't see themselves.
We feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow.
What?
Acting is a profession that many people of this fascinating planet seem to, take quite a liking to. It's a way to escape reality, enter a different life for several hours, and bring a story to the big screen in, the most realistic way possible. With real people. It's also a profession that, from the large crowd of those striving to make it in Hollywood, very few succeed. Now, it might feel like there's quite a lot of mainstream actors nowadays, but for every Brad Pitt or Morgan Freeman, there's around 5,000 others who got rejected in the process. Being an actor requires focus, dedication, persistence, presence, and possibly taking risks to bring out the most of your character, with some working out well, and some working out, well, you tried your best. It's a profession that every actor should be extremely grateful for, as I imagine that not many people would complain if they got to essentially play, pretend for a living. But nowadays, it seems that many of these professionals, who we know so well for bringing characters to life on the big screen, have begun to venture into a lane outside of their expertise, and instead of just doing their job and avoiding controversy, have begun voicing their opinions on not just their films or the characters that they play, but on bigger, broader topics. Because it's no secret that Hollywood recently has gone more woke than ever, preaching to their audience through their movies and TV on how to think, how to feel, and essentially how to live their lives. But apparently, it's not enough to do it through the media itself, because you've now got the very people who are in the projects to commentate on these topics, and to do it to the extent that it reinforces in their brains that any non-conformity to the modern agenda will end you. This is how you get people who only ever say the right thing that will put them in a positive light among, the woke liberals, even if they probably don't believe most of it themselves. And I mean, we've all seen what happens when, you refuse to back down. But why can't actors just do their job? Since when did they become political activists, discussing bigger worldly issues that instead of, using their millions of dollars to put an effort towards, instead tell us as an audience that we are failing and aren't doing enough? Basically, why won't actors just shut the fuck up? Well, there's quite a few reasons for this, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. So, if you're ready to indulge in some bullshit that I just decided to make into a nice little video, I'm glad to have you here, and let's begin our journey into the modern actor. So for one thing, there's a pretty big incentive for actors nowadays to conform and commentate on these kinds of modern topics, for quite a few reasons. For one thing, it gets you a lot more recognition in the industry. Especially if you're of a,
unrepresented minority.
You're seen as brave for standing up and talking about such problems, and so even if you're not that great of an actor, straight away you're on the table for, bigger and better roles. Either way, it basically secures your position in Hollywood, and as long as you say the right things from now on, and are very loud about it, your career's not going anywhere. On the contrary, if you say something that the mainstream narrative doesn't agree with, you're either fired from the industry completely, or your place in it is, significantly reduced. I mean, there's a reason that you feel like you keep seeing certain actors in literally everything nowadays, and why there's suddenly those who, have just become less prominent in the mainstream media. But a lot of actors also conform to this ideology and voice their opinions on it under the false belief that it will make them more liked by their audience, when in reality, it's only a very vocal minority who have, nothing better to do with their time, whose ideas they're conforming to. And so when your regular off-the-street people go to check the news and see that their favourite actor is calling them an incel for not liking a character, you suddenly just lost an audience member and a fan who simply just wanted to see their favourite franchise make some good content, but apparently they're the problem. I mean, at this point it should be pretty clear from the ratios alone that most of your audience aren't impressed by the stuff that you're putting out. And at the same time, you can be a likeable actor who also gets good roles by not speaking about these issues in the first place. It's not that hard to just keep your mouth shut, keep your opinions of the world to yourself, and simply just do your fucking job, getting roles for the reason that you should be, because you're good at acting. There's plenty of actors who just simply do what they're paid to do, and what they're passionate about, and are adored by the public, and have never once voiced their opinion on bigger issues, either because they're focused on their job, and don't have time to pretend that they give a shit, or they're smart enough to realise that as long as they're not taking roles or movies that don't really align with what they would want to watch themselves, they're fine. Now you could argue that with such a massive platform, it's up to people like them to raise bigger issues, which is understandable, And don't get me wrong, I'm all for actors taking action to solve bigger issues if they're so passionate about doing so, and if they genuinely care about the cause and making a positive change to the world. But in my opinion, they should do that in their own time, and especially when it comes to trying to spread a, message just to put yourself in a positive light, bringing these opinions up in the first place is only going to damage your reputation, as a lot of people aren't going to agree with you, and in turn, you're destined to lose out on a lot of fans and pretty much alienate your audience members. Basically, stop acting like you're an expert around all of these, since you probably only heard about them last week, and just, stay in your own lane. Now, something else that has rose to prominent in recent years especially, which beyond logical understanding makes these people think that their show or movie will now perform better, is the classic attacking your own fans. Yes, the very people who pay us money and take time out of their day to watch what we make and, want to see the franchise stay true to its roots and not diverge for the sake of identity politics, they're the ones in the wrong. It seems apparently now that if you dislike a show or movie that these studios make, you're in the wrong here, and there's clearly something, going on under the surface that you need to take the time and fix. It's not because our characters are boring or massive assholes that you're explicitly told to like, or that our show is poorly written and makes no sense. It's because you're a hateful and toxic member of the community, and it's all your fault.
Remember when Star Wars made Moses Ingram believe that the backlash to her character was racist? Then they made Ewan McGregor post a video talking about how it's horrible to see the fan base act this way, even though it was barely a few comments across thousands that were actually racially motivated. Or how Chris Evans called fans idiots for not liking the diversity and representation in a movie made for young children. Or Billy Eichner calling people homophobic weirdos for not going to see his movie. Or Viola Davis saying that you don't support women's issues if you don't go and see her movie. Or Jada Pinkett Smith calling everyone racist for their backlash towards a black Cleopatra. All you've done here is make your audience dislike you more, prove that you're just a little conforming bitch, and show that you're so narrow-minded that you can't see any other side of the criticism other than the one that you want to hear to support your agenda. Because see, a real actor who cared about what they were making would allow themselves to understand why the audience might be upset, and show them that, what they were making is the best it could be, and remember that ultimately, their opinions of the world don't really mean anything to the viewer, they just want to see a good movie. And this brings me on to people like Chris Pratt, who respected the fans and understood their concerns, but ensured them that, they will ultimately love the movie. And look how that turned out. Tom Cruise, who put a message before his movie, thanking the audience for coming to see it, expressing his gratitude and how he made the movie for them to enjoy. And look how that turned out. Henry Cavill defending the fans by saying that they're not toxic, but instead passionate about the story and world building. But unfortunately, Hollywood is seemingly doing whatever they can to keep this guy from reaching his potential, and I think we know the reason why. I think it's pretty scary that we live in a time where your own fans are disregarded purely because you twisted their honest criticism into something that it wasn't, making them out to be these racist, bigoted incels just because they don't want to see identity politics in a kids movie, or they dislike your female character because she goes through no actual character growth. Your fans literally just want to see some well-written characters for once, regardless of their gender or superficial traits, but honestly, it's pretty easy to see how from the very start, they knew they had a defense in place for any criticism that came their way. I do imagine though that being an actor who genuinely cares about the art, who has to hear about all this political BS on a daily basis, must be super frustrating, and I'm just so grateful for the actors out there who never act like they're in a position to lecture the public. They just do their job, and they're just really good at it. But for those out there who've ever won an award and began rambling on about, bigger issues that they've literally never had to face themselves, or tell regular people how to live their lives, please just shut up and do your job.
You're in no position to lecture the public about anything.
Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Won't force you though, of course. And I will see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye.